Great design should be enjoyed by as many people as possible. If you're not designing with accessibility in mind, you're missing out on the chance to reach more people with your message. When you're creating content, keep in mind that people consume content and use the web in different ways. So if your content isn't optimized for accessibility, it might as well be invisible. Ultimately, prioritizing accessibility creates better work that's designed for a diverse audience. Today, we're talking about accessibility best practices for creating visual content. In this video, we'll cover some of the most important principles and best practices across content writing, design, and publishing to help your content reach more people. I'm Nick, and I'm Senior Marketing and Communication Manager at Lemonly, home of the world's best infographics and visual storytelling. Along with Carly from our design team, we'll be sharing accessibility tips we use every day. Let's get started. Before we dive into some tips and best practices, let's talk about why accessibility matters when creating visual content. For us, it comes down to two goals: inclusion and excellence. First, inclusion. Like I said earlier, we believe great design should be enjoyed by as many people as possible. People with disabilities and assistive technology users are important audiences that shouldn't be left behind when it comes to great content. As many as 1 in 6 people has a significant disability, and many people use a variety of assistive technologies, including screen readers, special controllers, voice recognition, and more. So designing for accessibility means we can create content that includes more people in its potential audience. The way we see it, accessibility is the right thing to do, and it's the smart thing to do. Our second goal is excellence. We want to make the best work possible. And it just so happens that there's a lot of overlap between accessibility best practices and general design best practices, along with SEO best practices and web content best practices. Focusing on accessibility makes your content better, because the same guidelines that make content more accessible also make content clearer, more polished, and more discoverable for everyone. Accessibility is also important to our clients. Our clients expect us to deliver the best work to help them achieve their goals. Creating accessible content represents our clients well, positions them as leaders, and allows them to reach a broader audience. Everybody wins. All right, let's get into some best practices. Today, we're focusing on some of the most important principles and tips for more accessible content writing, design, and publishing. Across the board, we aim for level AA compliance with the latest version of Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG. We'll also include links to some more resources and tools in the blog post that goes along with this video. Hit the link in the description for more. With that, time for some tips. Let's start with accessibility best practices for content writing. Our tips here fall into two main categories: clarity and hierarchy. First is clarity. How do you make your writing easy to understand? Number 1, write in plain language. Skip the niche slang and advanced vocabulary in favor of simple, straightforward language to get your ideas across. Avoid industry jargon when possible, or provide definitions when you do need to use specialized terminology. Remember, using plain language doesn't mean dumbing down your ideas. Your writing can be conceptually sophisticated while using an accessible vocabulary. Number 2, write for an approachable reading level. We typically recommend around an 8th grade reading level or lower. Apps like Hemingway can help you gauge your writing and give you tips to adjust. In general, use shorter sentences and shorter paragraphs. Write in active voice with a conversational tone. Number 3, use contextual links. When writing text hyperlinks or clickable CTAs, make your link text unique and descriptive. Assistive technologies like screen readers can display a list of all the links on a page. If you have a bunch of links that say click here or learn more, the user has no idea what each link does. A good contextual link is short, specific, and gives the user a clear cue about what will happen when they click. For example, instead of click here, use read our blog post. Clear, specific, and descriptive. Our second category is hierarchy. These tips focus on using headings to add structure and skimmability to your content. Number 1, use heading levels. Headings are important for navigation and helpful for all users, but especially those who use assistive technology. Screen readers use headings to create an outline of the page's content for easier browsing. Wherever your content will live, whether it's a document, web page, infographic, or report, you should establish heading styles and apply them instead of manually styling text. You can have up to 6 heading levels, H1 through H6. Each page should have a single H1. That's the page title, or your infographic title. After the page title, the next heading should be an H2. Use additional heading levels to nest content hierarchically throughout the page. Think of it like an outline from your speech or English class. Remember, heading levels should always be used in order. That means an H3 always follows an H2. Don't skip from H1 to H3 or from H2 to H4 just to achieve a particular look. Number 2, write descriptive headings. Like we talked about, headings can be used to create an outline of the page, so specific headings help users understand where to find relevant content. For example, how ice cream is made is a descriptive heading. Time for a treat doesn't set up the content as effectively. In general, clarity is better than cleverness when it comes to headings, but it doesn't hurt if you can do both at once. Good headings should be clear, descriptive, and consistent across the page. Assume that most users will skim at least some parts of your content. Descriptive headings present your key points clearly, grab readers' attention, and make your content easy to navigate so users can get the gist, even if they don't read every word. Now that we've talked through some best practices for content writing, let's head over to Carly for some accessibility tips for design.
Hi everyone, I'm Carly and I'm a senior visual designer here at Lemonly. We'll cover accessibility best practices for design in a few categories: typography, color, and character design. Let's start with typography, including typefaces, text size, and spacing. Accessible typography is easy to read and flexible across a variety of text sizes and zoom levels. First, choose legible typefaces. For body text, use typefaces that are more conventional and easy to read. Expressive display fonts are great for short headlines, shout out to Jokerman, but pair them with simpler fonts for body text. When choosing a typeface, look out for character ambiguity. For example, in some typefaces, the capital I, lowercase l, and number 1 are indistinguishable, which can be a challenge for readability. When choosing font weights, avoid ultra-thin or ultra-light weights, especially at small sizes. They become hard to read pretty quickly. Second, make sure the text size is readable. As a rule of thumb, use 16 pixel or 12-point minimum for body text on the web, and 10 to 12-point minimum in print. For a static piece, like an infographic or social media microcontent, test on both desktop and mobile to make sure text is readable on different screen sizes. Third, use adequate text spacing. When text feels crowded, lines are too long, or chunks of text aren't distinguishable from each other, it's easy for readers to get confused or lose their place. Line spacing, paragraph spacing, and letter spacing are all important. Try using line spacing around 1.5 times the font size, and paragraph spacing around 2 times the font size. When in doubt, give text more breathing room. Our next area is color. Color is a crucial part of design, but it can create barriers for users with color blindness or low vision, so it should be used thoughtfully. First, provide enough color contrast. Adequate contrast ensures text and other elements are easily distinguishable from their background. We use contrast ratios according to Web Content Accessibility Guidelines Level AA. For normal text, you should have at least a 4.5 to 1 contrast ratio between the text and background color. For large text, meaning 24 pixel or 18-point regular text, or 18 pixel or 14-point bold text, it's a 3 to 1 contrast ratio. For icons and other user interface elements, the same 3 to 1 contrast ratio applies. But be sure to test all interactive elements, where the default, active, focus, and hover states may each have different designs. We have some favorite tools for checking color contrast. We'll link those in the description below. We also think about contrast at the brand level. When we're working on branding and logo projects, we test the entire color palette and document approved color combinations for easy reference. You can do this for your own brand and identify if you have gaps where expanding your palette with additional high contrast color combinations would be helpful. We'll link our favorite tool for checking an entire color palette below. Our next tip is about visual differentiation. Avoid using color as the only distinguishing factor between different elements or states. Always include a secondary differentiator, like text, shape, pattern, icon, or position. Ask yourself, if color is removed from this design, does it still make sense? If not, add a secondary cue. Data visualization is a great example here. When presenting 2 different variables in the same chart, color alone isn't enough to differentiate between them. Add shape, pattern, or text to make elements easily distinguishable without color. Lastly, let's talk about character design. Inclusivity goes hand in hand with accessibility. And one area where inclusive design especially matters is character illustration. Inclusive representation breaks down barriers to understanding by helping people see themselves reflected in your content. Character design can span a wide range of styles, from more detailed and realistic to more abstract and exaggerated. Whatever style you're using, good character design should represent a wide range of identities that reflects your audience and the world they live in. Here are some examples of character design using different styles. Throughout our work, we strive to illustrate characters with a variety of body types, skin tones, disabilities, ages, genders, racial and ethnic backgrounds, and more. When designing characters, go beyond boilerplate solutions for inclusivity and representation. For example, rather than just changing skin tones, be mindful of hair textures, hairstyles, and facial features when the illustration style leans more detailed. Another common example is overusing depictions of a generic manual wheelchair. Consider that many daily wheelchair users have more custom or electric wheelchairs. There are lots of other ways to incorporate thoughtful details in your character design for more inclusive representation. Remember, no group of people is all the same, so no set of characters should be all the same either. We also work with clients to make sure we're incorporating any key audiences or communities that are important to them. During the project kickoff and throughout the design phase, we check in to make sure our character design is inclusive, authentic, and representative of their goals. Since we specialize in illustration, we've talked about inclusive character design through an illustration lens, but the same principles apply when selecting photography. Try to incorporate a broad range of identities that accurately reflects your audience and community. We know stock photography can be pretty limiting when trying to find specific representation, so if you're struggling to find the right fit, consider custom character illustration as a great alternative. We've covered some design accessibility best practices across typography, color, and character design. Remember, accessibility in design is about making intentional choices. By thoughtfully considering the details of your design, you can make sure more people are able to enjoy your content. Now, let's head back to Nick for a few publishing best practices.
Thanks, Carly. Whatever type of content you're creating, it's going to be consumed digitally. So the way you publish your content online is integral to its accessibility. Let's look at some best practices for publishing visual content with accessibility in mind. For now, we'll focus on key tips for infographics and videos, starting with infographics, our favorites here at Lemonly. The most important thing when publishing an infographic is to make sure the infographic text is accessible somewhere on the web page outside of the image. This matters because many infographics are images of text, meaning the text has been rasterized in an image file, like a JPEG, or flattened in an SVG. That rasterized or flattened text isn't machine readable in the same way that live text on a web page is. So our goal is to make that text accessible on the web page, and that's great for both accessibility and SEO. There are different ways to do this depending on your website, your skills, and the type of infographic you have. In most cases, I recommend using what we call a content sandwich. It starts with some intro content before the infographic. This could be anything from a couple sentences to a few paragraphs that establish context and describe what the infographic is about. That's the first part of your sandwich. Then comes the infographic, which is probably a JPEG, an SVG, or even HTML. That's the meat of your sandwich. After the infographic, include the full infographic text in an accordion. That way the text is machine readable and users can expand the full text if they want to, but your page design stays clean with your infographic as the main character. Implementing a content sandwich and accessible infographic text outside of the image makes your web page friendlier to both assistive technology and web crawlers like search engines and LLMs. Next up, video publishing. The most important ingredient for video accessibility is captions. They make videos consumable for people with deafness or hearing impairments, or any users who are scrolling with their sound off. Captions also make translating video content easy and scalable for reaching a global audience. If you're uploading video to a platform like YouTube or Vimeo, automatic captions might come built in. But for the best quality and crawlability for SEO, we recommend uploading custom captions using an SRT file. Services like rev.com make it cheap and easy to get perfect captions for your video. When embedding a video on a web page, our content sandwich applies here as well. Include some intro content that describes the video, then the embedded video, with captions of course, then an accordion or text on the page with the video transcript. Publishing with accessibility in mind means that the hard work you put in during content writing and design doesn't go to waste. Optimizing for accessibility requires collaboration and attention to detail at each part of the process. So work with your team to make sure everyone has the knowledge, skills, and tools they need to make the best work possible. So that's accessibility for visual content in a nutshell. We covered key principles and best practices across content writing, design, and publishing, so your content can be enjoyed by as many people as possible. Remember, accessibility is a key consideration at every stage of your project. Carly and I are both members of Mosaic, our accessibility task force at Lemon.ly. It's a group of team members focused on advancing our accessibility best practices and sharing knowledge with the team. If you have questions about making your content more accessible, or if you're looking for an agency partner to help guide you through it, we'd love to talk. Just visit us at lemonly.com. And if you liked this video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content marketing and design best practices from Lemon.ly. See you next time.